Hey everybody, welcome back to The Complete Game, episode 61. I'm your host, Curt Schilling. He is your co-host and my eldest and a newly crowned father.
Yeah, not much. Just doing the dad thing every day now. It's
How
pretty
is it?
much my entire life. It's awesome.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
great.
good. Good for you.
We had a
Good for
second
you.
doctor's appointment. He's gained about a pound. He's looking great all around, so we're very happy.
Yep, yep. So right now he's a right shot, left shot defenseman with very wide shoulders.
Yeah, we're thinking about making a hybrid stick, so it's almost perfectly straight, so he can play left and right-handed, the first guy
Right.
ever, like a Shohei Ohtani.
Ambidextrous. Right,
Yep.
right. Ambidextrous defenseman, which would be big. Anyway, lots going on. I did that little quick hit piece. Hey, I did that little quick hit piece on Valdez, but I think it's something you and I should probably talk about. I know you had a couple questions, and I definitely want to get into it and talk to it about it a little bit more.
Yeah, yeah. One of the points I wanted to, and I'll put that out. We're gonna start doing that. Like my dad mentioned, I'll put the clip in here somewhere. You'll see. We're gonna start doing these pinch hit type things for more up to the moment when things happen, like the Valdez hitting his catcher, or over the weekend we had a pretty ugly display of humanity at the Phillies game. Things like that, where we'll
Yeah, yeah.
have little
Couple
quick
near no
hits
hitters.
coming to you live. Yeah. Uh, but let's start with the Valdez thing. I wanted to ask you about, he has been in Houston his entire career to this point.
Right.
Hasn't had another moment like this. We talked a little bit pre-show about this Astros kid is a rookie catcher, puts him in an almost
Yeah.
no-win situation.
Total no
But
win.
for Framber Valdez, what does that look like going forward as a free agent or as staying a Houston Astro? How does he navigate that? Does he lose money on his next contract for this?
No, no.
Okay.
I mean, it's a bottom line business, right? It's a zero sum game. You win and you lose, and when you look at some of the characters in the game over the past 100 years who have gotten big contracts and been horrible people. This was a one-off moment. He basically admitted after this last start that it was he said it was a bad moment. Well, a cross-up is not a bad moment. It wasn't a cross-up. It was an intentional act. And I'm sure that it's been worked out. Espada, I'm assuming, made amends on the back end of this, and I'm sure Valdez apologized. Again, the poor catcher's stuck in a horrible situation, but I don't think, you know, let's put it this way. If he gets into a situation where teams trying to decide whether they want to put on another year and another 35 million, maybe. I don't know, but I don't think so. The kid's he's an incredibly good pitcher. It was a stupid moment. And I got to tell you, I'll go all the way back to the steroid hearing when I was in front of Congress and people had talked to me and I'd made comments and all the things about that. I, to this day, have never ever eyewitnessed or seen steroids in a clubhouse ever in any capacity. I'm not saying it didn't happen. It obviously happened. I just never saw it. This crossing my catcher up on purpose is something that in my entire life never crossed my mind a single time. Like, much less I did it. I mean, I'll tell you a quick story. My first big league start, I've got Ed Rapuano behind the plate and Hall of Fame umpire. I got Mickey Tettleton catching, and I had 3 pitches: 1 fastball, 2 split, 3 slider. First inning, I don't remember the hitter. He puts down a 2 for split. I throw a slider, crosses him up. Mickey comes jogging out. He's like, "Hey man, you all right?" Look, yeah, I'm good. What's wrong? 2's a split, 3's a slider. Oh, okay. Turns around. I'm like, okay, 2's a slider, 3's a split. 2's a slider, 3's a split. He goes back, puts slider down. I throw a split. Ed Rapuano calls timeout, comes running out to the mound. He goes, "Hey, how we doing out here, kid?" I'm like, I'm fine. What's the matter? He goes, "Yeah, Mick's he wanted me to let you know 2's a split, 3's a slider. Here we go. You do that again, and you're probably not going to make it out of the inning." And I'm like, "Oh my god, oh my god!" And I'm like, okay. He jogs back. I'm like, "2's a two's a split. I think that, yeah, okay." And like, I was petrified, but that was the only time in my life I've ever crossed a catcher up, ever. And it happened. And the thought, I've been in situations where catchers have wanted me to cross to throw a fastball and a breaking ball count so they could get the umpire. Not often, happened twice. I didn't do it either time out of fear that I'd kill somebody. But this never occurred to me. Never in a million years would I think to cross my catcher up to hurt him. I mean, and truth be told, I became a veteran, if you were screwing up as my catcher, you just didn't catch me anymore. And so that's why, and another reason why I always went with the same catcher wasn't superstition. I wanted consistency and routine because calling pitches and the game calling thing is an ebb and flow piece that I like to be a part of. The momentum and all the things that go with that. So, but again,
It's also, it just speaks to like the game as a whole now in the maturity level of guys that are on a Framber Valdez ace level. I mean, that is so, like you just said, it never crossed your mind. The only time you ever crossed up a catcher was basically probably just nerves, right? Is what you'd
nerves.
say. So
Yeah.
and he not only does that intentionally, but he turns around with like an arrogance that doesn't exist 30 years ago. Like he is,
Well,
that is my right to pick on that rookie catcher, not just in the dugout, not in the clubhouse, but to embarrass him on the public stage right
I'm
now
mad at
against the
you because
Yankees.
I just gave up a grand slam.
Yeah, that you
That's
tried to
exactly what
talk
he's
me out of.
right.
That you tried to push me out of. Yeah, that would be like when you shook up Veritek in Oakland, gave up the no. If you just beamed him on the next one, can you
Right.
imagine that?
That's exactly what it is.
I mean, that's the level of ego you have to.
Right.
It doesn't exist, or it didn't exist, at least when I liked watching baseball more. We talked about, or you talked about the no hitter at Camden Yards, the
Oh,
almost no hitter before Jackson Holiday stepped up and hit a solo shot, which ended up unraveling the Dodgers' night. One thing I wanted to
here's
ask.
the thing. Let me just tell you
God,
this. We talk about losses being different. If they lose this division by a game and they end up the wild card, you can do this with a billion different games, right? During the season, and that's why I always tell you, those losses in April hurt. You just don't realize it till September comes around. I'm sure there are a lot of games, and their bullpen has been imploding in the last month. You could point to, but that'll be a game everybody will talk about if they end up having to play their way into the playoffs instead of getting a bye.
yeah, it was Yamamoto who lost the no hit bid, and I wanted to ask you this question. Do you know there's only one? So first of all, the Orioles were the last team to hit a walk off this year. Did you know that? The last of every single Major League Baseball team, they were the last
They were
one
the
to hit.
last ones to get one.
Jackson
Okay.
Holiday hit it. So Jackson Holiday breaks up the no hitter tonight.
Yeah.
And it was going to be the second no hitter ever thrown at Camden Yards. Do you know who the other one was?
I do.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? Hideo Nomo for the Red Sox. I feel like no hitters are a lot more common. We haven't had one this year. Isn't that
Right.
pretty wild?
It's been rare. Well, here's the thing about it, right? No hitters are kind of freaky. Not as freaky as perfect games, but there have been a lot of average to bad pitchers that have thrown no hitters. Think about this. And I never threw one for the most part because I threw too many strikes. Maddox never threw one. Clemens never threw one. Pedro had like a 10-inning no hitter. He lost in the 10th.
And it's funny, there are guys, like you just named 3 guys too that are on that 20 strikeout in one game list that don't have a no hitter. Because they were peppering the strike zone as most of the like you said, you threw strikes. So sorry, go ahead.
No. But you've seen guys that if you look at the list of no hitters, it's lengthy. There are a lot of guys who were never actually, and I say that in context of being big league pitchers. They weren't consistently good big league pitchers, but they threw no hitters. Or perfect games. And it just takes that game I lost the no hitter. If Lugo doesn't clank a routine ground ball in the 6th, I'm throwing a perfect game. Because it was just one of those days when everything was and I can't help but think about what it would have been like if I had to get Jason Kendall out for the 9th inning with 2 outs as opposed to Shannon Stewart. But it wasn't.
But we don't think about that, right?
I find it funny though too when you look at when you hear people talk about the Hall of Fame, they talk about things like no hitters as if that's part of the credit. The only freak of nature ever was there. Let me give you 2 freaks of nature when it comes to no hitters. Number 1, Ryan throwing 7, and I think he had like 12 or 13 one hitters. He had the most 3 or less hit games in the history of baseball. But the other one that goes unnoticed and that I absolutely appreciate is Jason Varitek caught 4. And another 5 or 6, including the one I lost in the 9th.
Let me see if I can. John Lester.
Yep.
Clay Buchholz.
Yep.
Gosh.
We just said his
I know.
Nomo.
Nomo. What? David Wells threw his for the Yankees. I'm blanking on the 4th one. Give me.
I am too.
Okay, well, I'll look it up.
Yep. Where it's happened like 6 times in the history of the game where a guy took a no-hitter into the 9th and lost. And 4 of the 6 have been the Dodgers, I guess.
Yep. Well, that it was looking like it might happen was going to happen again last night, even though, and we got to talk about that a little bit. These combined no hitters. I mean, I was saying to you earlier when we were talking on the phone. I want to opt out of that. I don't want notifications for a combined no hitter. Tyler
Right. No.
Glasnow threw 8 innings of no hit ball, and
Right.
then a reliever comes in for the ninth. I mean,
Yeah.
what are we doing here? It was
Right.
also, not to mention, a 3-1 game, which no hitter with a score on it kind of feels weird
Yeah. Well,
already.
he lost it in the 7th or 8th, and then they took him out. But for those of you that are of my age bracket, I said it when I played. In all of my career, the guy who I saw throw the first time, whose arm I was more impressed with than anybody that I ever played against or with, was a guy named AJ Burnett. He had the ball came out of his hand, something fierce. AJ threw a no hitter, and if I'm not mistaken, I think he struck out 12 and walked like 8 when he threw it. But he had an arm that was otherworldly, and that's what I thought about Tyler Glasnow. That's what I thought about Zach Wheeler too. And I said it back at the time that Zach left the Mets and the Phillies signed him. I said that was the biggest free agent signing of the winter, and there was a lot of stuff that happened that winter because I recognized it in my mind that Zach Wheeler was an ace in the making.
That is also kind of the wink, by the way. It was Derek Lowe.
Derek,
Uh,
that's right. There you go. Yep.
that is the kind of tongue-in-cheek wink between no hitter and perfect game. Like the thing I always think of. You were saying it's obviously doesn't. You're not saying they're not great pitchers. They were obviously the
Right.
best where they grew up and where they went to
Right.
school or whatever before they got to the major leagues.
Right.
But Doc Ellis threw a no hitter.
Right.
So
And
like
by the
there's
way, Doc Ellis threw a no hitter on LSD.
that's I was gonna say there's a part of that also. But yeah, it's spoiler alert. He was on drugs. So
Right.
there's
Right.
he hit 12 batters, I think, and he thought they were all Bears, but
Right, right, yeah. No, there's a lot. I mean,
technically he didn't give
David
up a
Wells
hit.
threw a no hitter, perfect game in New York, and I mean, Wellesley always claimed he was hungover, but he said he was hungover for that game, and you know,
Well, what's his name? Manager, Torrey said he could smell him, or someone on the
yeah.
team, I think, said, "Don't let Joe smell you."
You know what I
Was the
remember?
famous part of
I
that
think of
story.
all the no hitters that I've seen, one of the most memorable was Mark Burley's no hitter, where Dwayne Wise went over the wall to take the home run away. From,
Yeah,
by the way, do you know who hit that ball? You remember?
Kobe Ellsbury.
Kapler.
Damn it, I was close.
No, Gabe Kapler hit that ball, and Wise went over the wall to bring it back, which I
That's
thought in
crazy.
the history of the game was one of the 4 or 5 most clutch catches in history. So,
Yeah, I don't know that I have a most memorable no hitter. I think your almost in
yeah,
Oakland is probably the closest one for me because I think I've told this on here before, but our next door neighbor we were visiting in Arizona broke me into a bar at like 11 years old, explained to the bartender, no, you don't understand. He has to see this, and walked me into like a private area to watch that on TV. Yeah. One more thing, also last on Sunday night, Aroldis Chapman had a 4 strikeout inning to lower his ERA down to .98. I know we mentioned about a week or two ago, like that. It seems like he's getting hot just before the
yeah,
period time that he needs, but it doesn't seem like he's slowing down. I mean, he's
no,
had an absolute renaissance in Boston.
right. And I don't generally worry about closers in that sense. They stay, they're that's a mental thing, and I have no problem with him carrying that into the postseason. The problem with Aroldis is that not the problem, but he's one of those throwers, and in October they tend to not have as much success when they're not commanding the strike zone. If you remember the Cubs Indians World Series, he was the guy that gave up the home run in the ninth to tie the game. Cleveland tied the game in the ninth. They came back obviously, but yeah, no, it's an incredible run. He got his extension. I'm happy for him. There's a guy who's been up and down his whole career, and it's good to see. I'm happy for him. Happy for Boston. I mean, they're clearly going to be one of the wild card. I think one of the wild card teams. I don't think they're going to win the division, but stranger things have happened. But I think the AL goes through Detroit anyway. I'm having trouble seeing those guys let up. The Yankees getting back into it's interesting. I
Devin
don't know what to
Williams
do with
can't seem to figure it out.
who.
Devin Williams, he's still
Yeah, yeah.
struggling, man.
Well, I mean, and
Their
here's the
bullpen
problem.
scares the shit out of me as a ticket holder of
Right.
a future Yankees bet.
But you look at his strikeout to walk ratio, and he's one of those guys that I talk about. He's a thrower. He throws a lot of strikes, but he's wild inside the strike zone. And that he's got a 5.5 ERA or something stupid like that. But what do? You can't mix and match this late in the season. You got to go with what you know. But it still remains to be seen, right? I mean, when you look at the matchups, nobody beats Detroit in game 1. And if Skubal comes and throws a 1-4-7, which I don't think they'll do, then I don't think the Tigers can get beat in a 7-game series because I don't think he's going to get beat in October.
I don't know if you had anything before we play Guess Your
Let me.
Teammate.
I don't think I did. I know we were talking about. I know
Raleigh hit his
there's a
53rd. Judge hit 3-something tonight, right? A couple milestone updates, but
there's a sad news out of Houston. Luis Garcia, a kid who 2 years ago sat down with Tommy John, recovering from it, made his second start
oh
and blew out again
yeah,
on
that
an 88
sucks.
mile an hour changeup. Yeah, no, those are devastating. I've been a guy who's been out a year, and I know how hard that is. And then, by the way, not for nothing, but Aaron Judge, my God, Aaron Judge has become Mike Trout. He's a victim of his own greatness. We don't talk about him because, well, he just hit a home run. Of course, it's Aaron Judge. He hit a home run. But he passes, and this is not a small thing. He is now 5th on the all-time list for the Yankees, passing Yogi Berra.
Is that good?
Well, here's the thing. We talk about Ohtani and how unique and all the other things and yada, yada, yada. But Aaron Judge, I don't want to mess this up because what he's done is just insane. But like I said, you show me a guy that strikes out 150 times, and I'll show you a guy I can get out in October. Because as a pitcher, I can find, if you have 150 punch-outs, I can find your holes. But pitching nowadays is not that way. So, I mean, come on. He's hitting, his slash line is 321, 440 for 1099 OPS, 7.5 WAR. I mean, my God, give me a break. That's just coming off of by the way, this will, if he ends up over 1,000, he will be his 4th consecutive season with an OPS 1.111, 1.019, 1.159, 1.099,
Disgusting.
62, 37, 58, 43. I mean, here's the question, and I would say it's a no-brainer yes. If he gets hurt tomorrow and his career's over, does he go to the Hall of Fame? I think he's a
I'd have to look
Koufax.
at his reference, but probably.
I think he's a Koufax. I think he's been so great in a
Barry
short period of
Sanders.
time. Well, Barry played a little while. Koufax had 6 seasons where he was
Who's
the
the one I'm
greatest
thinking
pitcher
of
on.
then? The running back.
Barry's right.
Yeah, okay,
Barry walked
Barry's
away at a
yeah.
very young age.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. But Aaron is a no doubt first ballot Hall of Famer today, I think, if his career ends.
How did you I meant to ask you this the other night on the phone, but I was saving it for the show. How did you first find out about the Framber Valdez Cesar Salazar situation? Do you remember?
I do not.
Okay.
I think I
Because
saw it was trending on X
so
or something.
it also came across my timeline on our TCG podcast account. Go follow that on Instagram. But I didn't see this anywhere from MLB from their actual account. I went to watch the recap of the game. There's like a 5, they do like the longer 10-minute, you can watch every inning, and then
Yep.
there's a 4 to 5 minute shorter recap that does like all the major things. This wasn't in that rundown. Skipped right over it.
Right.
What is that?
Well,
what is the fear in having the most talked about part of the entire sport for that day not be in the 4-minute highlight?
Baseball is very much like football in the sense that they think that they're dumb, that fans aren't smart enough to figure it out on their own, and it's a bad way to do business.
It's aggravating as someone who wants to see that. Like, obviously I don't want to see that situation, but if it happens, I want to see it. Like, I want it to pop up on my phone. I don't want to have to follow some random account 4 different times and then see it 4 different times on Instagram. Like, I would like to know about that. Should be the thing I get an update from MLB about, not a combined no hit.
Right.
So that was my little axe to grind. Also, quickly before we play Guess Your Teammate, shout out week 1 of the NFL. Congratulations to you on your new quarterback, Aaron Rodgers. You look very, very sharp.
Thank you for touchdowns. Although, I read a lot of dissertations from the experts, which is what you get. He threw 4 touchdowns, and I was worried about playing DK Metcalf because the Jets secondary was supposedly with Sauce Gardner, and worried about them. Yeah, but if Warren and this new kid can take the rock 35 times a game, and he can be in short situations, I like I like their chances to be very good this year because they're now a game up on the Ravens, who lost one of the most amazing games I've ever seen.
Yeah, unbelievable game. Real quick before we move on from the football segment, do you want to where do you think going into this year? Because we gave our baseball predictions pretty late. Where do you think the Steelers end up? And I'll give my Patriots thoughts.
I think the Steelers are going to end up 12-5. I think they'll contend, if not win the division,
I was
but
gonna
I
say, does
don't.
that win the AFC North?
It might.
That
That's going
might.
to be a very good. I think the Bengals are going to be very, 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 very good. Lamar Jackson is Lamar Jackson. And Zay Flowers is going to have. Zay Flowers might end up being wide receiver number 1 in fantasy football this year. And Derrick Henry, God bless him. I got him late in the first round.
God.
And he just did Derrick Henry things, and he may be the greatest physical freak. He may be more of a physical freak than Bo Jackson.
He's only he's like 400 yards short of his high school rushing total, right?
9 years in the NFL, he still hasn't rushed for his high school total.
I think he had 12,000 yards in high school. He has 11,000, and now after that game, like 675.
He had like 4,000 yards his senior year and like 40 some touchdowns.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I think he was built exactly like he is today as a senior.
That was shout out, pardon my take. They were how many guys do you think he made quit football forever?
That was just in my head. That because they said something about that. I'm thinking to myself, how many guys along the same lines? I heard that number. How many guys do you think he made quit? And then I saw a highlight of Clayton Kershaw throwing a perfect game and striking out every hitter in a high school game.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking,
Matt Stafford
and he
caught
hit a
him.
home run.
And Matt Stafford caught him.
Yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, how many guys walked away after that and said, I'm done.
Yep, I'm gonna look into the business school.
Yep, I was never that guy, so I can't imagine what that level of dominance feels like.
My quick Patriots thoughts. I think the Raiders are better than people think they're gonna be, so I'm not as discouraged by that Week 1 loss. I think that the best case scenario for this year is a 10-7 wild card spot in the AFC. Whatever happens, that game happens. It's free playoff experience for a young quarterback. What I think my realistic expectations are is 7-10. Drake May takes a step forward, maybe even eclipses 4,000 passing yards, establishes himself as one of the top 3 quarterbacks from that 6 quarterback draft with him, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels.
I'm having a hard time seeing them win 10 games. It would surprise me. Wouldn't shock me. I'm having a hard time seeing them win 10 games, although they do get the Dolphins
range.
twice.
That's where I have them. Yeah, again, we get the Dolphins twice. We might get the Bills late in a layoff game.
Yeah.
But those are my thoughts.
And as someone who owns Stephon Diggs, I need to see Trayvon Henderson do something to open up some passing for me.
There was a lot of, it seemed like, opening day overthrow, like gripping the ball a little too tight. So I'm hoping he settles back in like he did towards the end of last year. So I'm optimistic.
See, that's the thing, G. I always look at that, and I have a different perspective as a fan in the sense that having played professional sports, I get the opening day jitters on the opening drive, but it should go away after that. The opening drive, 2 drives, I get it, but you should be able to settle in at that point. Right. And so he's still a ways away. I still think he's their quarterback of the future. I really do. I think he's very, very good. I think his mobility is going to obviously be a huge upside thing for him. He's got a weapon. I think Diggs is still legitimate. So, I'm going to be curious to see how that all plays out because, Ramondre Stevenson, to me, I can't give him the ball in the red zone. I mean, the whole fumble thing is that's always been a Belichick thing. Now
Vrabel will carry that torch.
Yeah. By the way, shout out to Mr. Belichick, Coach Belichick, for his first college win. Apparently, the only highlight I saw was his girlfriend walking up to him on the sideline during the game, which I can't imagine in a million years. But okay.
Yeah, before we get too far into a football podcast, I will say also I think he threw 47 times. That's just far too many times for a team that has a young running back like Omarion Hampton.
Yeah.
Or not Omarion Hampton. Sorry, Travion Henderson. Moving forward, playing a game, guess your teammate. We got 5 clues for a former teammate of my dad's. We haven't played this in a little bit, so we got ranging from difficult to very easy. All right, you ready for your first clue? A 16-year career for 4 different teams, 3 in the American League and 1 in the National League. 2 of those teams reside in California.
16-year, 3 in the American, 1 in the National. All right,
Yep.
Go ahead. Next.
2 in California. I spent more time with the Giants than any other team, but also played for both sides of the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry.
Ellis Burks?
Nope. In 28 career postseason games, I batted .327 with 3 home runs and 15 RBIs, most of which took place with the Giants' 2002 NL Championship run.
Charlie Hayes?
I was a Gold Glove winner in 6 consecutive seasons, all while living in California from 1995 to 2000.
JT Snow.
JT Snow. My last clue is going to be, what do they call bastards from the north?
Ah! I only played with him a short time. It's amazing to me how many great guys I played with that I don't remember. John Olerud.
I had no idea JT Snow was your
Yeah.
teammate. That was one of those guys that I've looked through the 06 roster plenty of times, and I just was like, wait a minute, that can't be right.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, that was one of my favorite players as a young kid.
Yeah. Him and Rico Brogna were the 2 best defensive first basemen I ever saw.
But yeah, just a lot of hidden gems on that teammates list that, I mean, that's a great one.
Yeah.
There's someone out there listening right now that just went, oh, JT Snow, he was awesome, you know?
All right, Bubba.
All righty. Good show.
Yep. We'll see you again Friday.
We'll be back on Friday. We're getting down to it halfway through the month of September.
Yep.
So if you guys are on Spotify or YouTube, hit subscribe, follow, let us know. I'm looking at all the analytics every week to see how you guys interact.
Hey, maybe Friday we'll do something to give away a signed autographed baseball or something.
All right. Sounds good. We'll look for that on his Twitter and our other socials. Like I mentioned, the Instagram, I'll have it all up here. So until then, thanks for listening, guys.
Take care, buddy.